The stewardesses all said they liked him. Like, he was just a gentleman, even though he got on, was downing bourbon and sodas and chain smoking in the back of the just smoking his cheap cigarettes and he's just leaving cigarette butts everywhere. He's like, he couldn't have been nicer. But so he's a gentleman. Maybe he got a little too cozy with some of these birds.
Only explanation I have in where a Fiat Uno could keep up with a Mercedes S280, okay?
It's not that I wouldn't fight Mothman. I would beat the shit out of him.
We're seasoned.
So wait, you mean to tell me they have a festival commemorating the day a man got his shit rocked by an extraterrestrial carrot?
My neighbors across the street, they are not real.
But a pyramid is the most boring shape.
Part Sasquatch, part trickster midget.
Welcome to the Conspiracy Kitchen.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining us in the Conspiracy Kitchen, where we attempt to find the secret ingredients behind life's daily mysteries. I'm Joe, and always I'm accompanied by Josh, aka the Cryptid Killer.
Whoa.
And today, in the kitchen, we're going to go with, I guess, another mystery. We're going to go with D.B. Cooper and the plane jacking, if you will, with the money. It was pretty famous. I don't know. It seems like it's not really as known these days. Back in the day, I guess it was more so because it took place in the 70s. So we go back, I guess here we'll go back to the day before Thanksgiving. Of course, the day before Thanksgiving. Just fuck all these FBI agents freaking Thanksgiving all up because they got to report to this. So we got November 24th, 1971. Day before Thanksgiving, obviously. We got a Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. It's a Boeing 727. If you want to know the registration number, it's N467US. I don't know if you want to dive deeper into this thing. It was scheduled for a short 30-minute flight from Portland, Oregon, to Seattle, Tacoma International Airport, SeaTac, in Washington State. A man was on board. He had identified himself as Dan Cooper. And we'll get into in a minute why he said Dan Cooper and everyone calls it DB Cooper. We'll get into that in a little bit. This guy purchased a one-way ticket for $18.52 in cash. Ooh, man. Flights were pretty cheap back then, huh?
It'd be fucking $450 today.
Yeah. Described as a white male in his mid-30s to mid-40s. Probably about 6'1", 170 to 175 pounds. Olive complexion, brown eyes, black hair. He had it parted. Wore a business suit, white shirt. Had a nice black clip-on tie because I guess he didn't know how to tie a tie. Yeah. He had a trench coat on, loafers, and wraparound sunglasses. When he entered the plane, he was quiet, polite, and kind of just blended in as a regular, any old typical business traveler. So once he boarded this flight, had 36 passengers on board, including 6 crew members, 3 flight attendants. Do we really need to go into the pilot? All right, the pilot was William A. Scott, just to let you know. And then there was a flight attendant, Florence Shafter. She's the one that's going to be getting, I guess, the anxiety in about a minute. So shortly after takeoff, about 3 p.m., Cooper then hands a little love note, I guess you could say, to Florence, who initially thought it was a passenger flirtation. She thought it was like, a little love note. He pocketed it, didn't say anything. So Cooper goes, "Yo, miss, you better look at that note. You know why? Because I have a bomb." Oh, no, right? Fuck. The note was written neatly, stated he had a bomb in his briefcase and demanded $200,000 in negotiable American currency. So that's about a little over, 1.5 million in today's dollars.
Today, yeah.
He asked for 4 parachutes, 2 primaries, and 2 reserves, a fuel truck on standby in Seattle, and said, "No funny business." So Schaffner sat next to him and opened he opened up his little briefcase, and inside there was a bunch of wires, a battery, red cylinder, cylindrical objects. Maybe they were dynamite, maybe it was just bullshit. I don't know. They never found this, I guess, this briefcase. So after this, we're getting a little, I guess, scared here. Shafter, Florence, she took the note to the cockpit where Captain Scott instructed her to remain there and record events. Cooper requested flight attendant Tina to sit with him as, like, just to be a pain in the ass, I guess. Just sit over here with me, and demanded the plane circle until his requests were met. The pilot announced a delay due to a minor mechanical problem, I guess to keep the passengers quiet. You think that's a mechanical problem? Having a bomb on the plane?
Being a bomb on the aircraft? Yeah, I think I'd, file that under mechanical problem.
Yeah. So Cooper's request for 2 sets of parachutes, might have suggested he was taking a hostage. So it kind of kept authorities from providing, bullshit parachutes, I guess, so he didn't just splat on the ground. They didn't want to be like, oh, he's got a hostage and they just splat too. It's kind of what they were thinking. So this kind of makes me think that he knows what he's doing, right? Like off the rip, this guy knows what the fuck he's doing. He kind of seemed like he was familiar with a Boeing 727 too. So we'll get into that a little later as well. The plane landed at SeaTac around 5:24 p.m. Cooper, he asked for it to be taxied to a remote, well-lit area with dim the lighting in the cabins so he didn't get freaking picked off, I guess, by a sniper somewhere. Authorities did compile the $200,000, all in $20 bills. They made sure they kept all the serial numbers, though. They wanted this, I guess, for later on to see if they can catch a guy trying to buy a car or whatever for it. The 4 parachutes were there, with the 2 backpack style parachutes and the 2 chest reserves. One of which was a non-functioning training parachute with a slew shut canopy. I don't know why they gave him a non-functioning one. Well, because what if, again, he took a hostage, that he gives them the non-functioning one, and they just splat on the ground. You know what I mean? But, whatever. I guess we'll keep going here. They're saying it wasn't noticed by Cooper, but that's one of the ones he left behind. So I think maybe he did know. The Northwest Airlines employee delivers these items up as demanded to Cooper. Cooper releases all the 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants, Shafter, Florence, and Hancock. She was gone. He kept the other one, the one that was instructed to sit next to him for whatever reason. I guess he liked her. The pilot and co-pilot and flight engineer were kept on the plane. So about 2 hours later, the plane took off from Seattle. I guess they didn't even just let him go. Didn't want any explosions or anything. And I should make this so you guys know. I didn't bring it up yet. It was a very stormy night. High winds, just a shit show of weather. So, again, this kind of makes you, if he wasn't some type of person who knew what he was doing, I don't think they would attempt to do this, because you have, apparently in the air where as the plane was flying, the winds reached 200 miles an hour, apparently. You had freaking rain, 0 visibility. So it was extremely dangerous for this, and to be doing this jump. So, yeah, the plane takes off at about 2 hours later, 7:45. He sent the one stewardess to the cockpit around 8, instructing the crew to remain there. And he put on one of his parachutes, tying the bag of money to his waist. And somewhere between Seattle and Reno, he took the jump. So that's when he left the plane. You can see that in the flight records. They said the plane's cockpit recorded a difference in pressure. No one's physically seen him jump out. So yeah, they checked out the flight path, the FBI's flight path. They followed it, the official flight path of the thing. They think he landed somewhere in that area, the general vicinity, and he probably knew the area himself. The plane then re-landed back in Reno at 11:02, with everyone inside basically fine, no one hurt. They checked over the plane, no bombs, no explosives. The FBI's bomb squad cleared it, and Cooper was not in the plane. He did leave some stuff behind though, so I guess he just didn't give a fuck. He left behind that clip-on tie that he was wearing before he jumped. We get into a little bit more on the tie later on with some of the stuff they find there. He left about 8 cigarette butts. No fingerprints on them, though. They were usable. He left 2 of the 4 parachutes behind. One was cut up, probably used the lines to tie the money, we're thinking, to his waist. And the training parachute was left behind. So I think he knew what it was. They're trying to say he didn't, he missed it, but I think he knew that was not. But he said, fuck it, I'm not making a big deal about this. I just want the fucking money. And a single strand of hair was found on the headrest that he sat at. So, yeah. We'll go with the, I think he knew what he was doing. So we have some theories going on here, right? Right after what happened here. So you got the military is already involved. They searched this area, couldn't find anything going on. They just lost him, basically, right? So what do you think happened right after he jumped out of this plane? We don't even know if he wasn't in the plane anymore, but no one even saw him leave the plane.
No one saw him leave the plane because he told the stewardess to go in the cockpit and close the door. All she remembered seeing was him strapping the money to his chest and then putting on the parachute, and then she closed the door. But, yeah, he disappeared completely and still has not been identified. Presumed dead by this point, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if he was actually in his mid-40s, yeah, he's probably dead by now. But it's also, I guess we should also mention that these weren't like steerable parachutes. Like, this isn't Warzone parachutes here. These are just parachutes that you just, drop down straight with, right? You can't sit there and aim where you're going with these things, right?
No.
So, a stormy night with, winds at the up in that level of atmosphere, because he told the pilot not to fly too high. I think they flew at 10,000 feet.
Yeah, he clearly knew what he was doing because he told them fly at 10,000 feet and keep the landing gear and the rudders down or the flaps down.
The flaps, yeah.
Thinking of a boat. Keep the flaps down and
too much Titanic.
Yeah, that kept the plane going at a comfortable 200 miles an hour because there was 2 jets following them because
at a distance, right?
Yeah, they were at a distance. They had to be because they couldn't keep up with that slow of a speed, so they had to keep circling around. And after, he jumped into a storm, so there's no way they saw where he went at all.
Yeah, and at that height, like I was saying, you're saying, like, the winds are 200 miles an hour, because I guess the plane's moving at 200 miles an hour. At that height, too, it's pretty cold up there, right? But he was only wearing, like, loafers, and so they're trying to say that he was wearing loafers, a suit and stuff, so he wasn't experienced in skydiving. But we didn't see him. Could he possibly have had something heavier to put on once he donned the parachute or something on his hands, anything? Or you think he just put it right on over that shit and jumped out?
See, I think it was just over that, because if he's... They go into thinking, like, suspecting ex-military and things like that.
Yes.
And if you're ex-military, like, you're trained to withstand any kind of, like, weather or anything like that, despite, doesn't matter what you're wearing. You're trained to fucking handle that shit.
Yeah, just deal with it.
Yeah, so he could fucking hike for days in loafers if he's ex-military, no problem.
Yeah. So the first theory is that they think he just fucking died, right?
That's... That is the first theory, that he just fucked off into the night, right into a tree branch in a secluded... Because it was over the woods, like a very vast wooded area, and they think he just hit a tree branch and fell somewhere no one would ever find him, and that was it.
See, for me, the wooded terrain and everything, I think at some point they would have found something, right? A parachute in the trees, through even like, because they're still investigating it to this day. I guess they're checking things out. They just had evidence in 2023 we can talk about in a little bit. At some point, don't you think you would have found something?
There should have
something that kind of shows you that someone died, maybe, perhaps, unless a bear drug them off, ate them somewhere, fucking into a den. I mean, it is a rugged, wooded area in this area around where it was like Ariel, Washington, and on its way down. That's a whole vast kind of shitty area to try to jump into. So I just don't think he died. I really don't think he went through all that just to jump out the plane and die. You know what I mean?
I'd never believe that theory either.
So yeah, I don't think he died. Especially, I mean, there'd be money flying all over the place, and I guess we can get into. Well, we'll talk about this too. I guess a little while later, an 8-year-old boy was out. What was he doing there? Trying to build a campfire, and somehow just brushed some sand aside and found like $5,800 worth of this ransom money. So to me, whatever, freaking 9 years later, this money being buried, I don't know if it was washed there or if he buried it there, himself, if he landed and then buried it there, because this is in the same area. So the kid, found it. They were still bound in rubber bands. They then take it, the Ingram family then brings it, the family that found it, the kid's family that found it. They bring it to the FBI. They confirm that the serial numbers are what the serial numbers are from the dollars that were given to D.B. Cooper, or Dan Cooper. And they keep 14 of them for evidence. The remaining bills, after negotiations, I guess the family's like, well, we should have some of it, whatever, was split between the family and the airline insurer. So the insurer took some, I guess. The family took some. Yeah, really? They got to get their money back, right?
Oh, come on. Those cheapskates. Jesus Christ.
So yeah, the Northwest Orient Airlines, they took some of the bills. So, there was $5,800. Do the math. Get a calculator for me real quick. There's $5,800. You divide that by 20. How many bills is that?
5,800 divided by 20. 290.
All right. So then 14 bills goes to the FBI. So subtract 14.
Mm-hmm.
How many does that leave you with?
276.
Just divide that in half.
138.
And multiply that by 20, and now we know what each of them got.
2760. God damn it!
So
that little shithead should have kept his mouth.
And what the fuck? The insurance is get $2,700. I mean, that's so big for the insurance companies, right? So they split it. Later on, Brian, he goes in 2008, and he auctions off 15 of these bills. We got a lot going on here. Not kind of getting away from the case, though, but he auctions off 15 of those bills in 2008 for $37,000.
Made off pretty good. I mean,
made off pretty good, I guess. Now, he claims that he was intending to fund his children's education with it. What do you think about that? You think he was doing that?
Yeah, definitely. You could absolutely fund an education with a new sports car.
So yeah, I don't think he was funding no education with it either. So yeah, that money was found. If we're gonna go look at that real fast, I think Cooper. That shows Cooper did survive. I don't think just that little bit, $5,800, washed down the river and ended up in a sand pile somewhere in the middle of the freaking, like just floated around or flew through the air and then got buried. And I think he's planted that money there. Now, did he plant the money to kind of throw off a trail? He thought maybe they would have been chasing him fucking 9 years earlier. No one ever found out where he went. He just planted it there to like, oh, look, he must have went this way. Look, there's some money buried here. He was coming back for it. And throw him off the trail. I think that's what was going on with that money. And that what makes me think that that he died theory doesn't hold any water.
I do agree that I don't think he died, but I disagree with why he left the money. I think
Okay.
it was like a contingency plan where like he knew that if he got caught, he would still have something to go back and get after he got out of prison. So
Okay.
you leave a tiny amount, enough to get by for the time period. Now it gets
Yeah.
you, what, like a week's worth of food? But yeah, you leave a little just in case, and then if you get caught, you do your time, come back, and you got a little something for yourself.
Hey, eggs are now like actually able to be bought though. I'll tell you, they're no longer $10 a dozen. They're like $3.50 a
9.50.
dozen.
Oh,
Now they came down a decent amount, and we'll see if they go back up. But they came down a decent amount. The other thing I wanted to mention here is that the DB Cooper. I mentioned Dan Cooper, DB Cooper. He said Dan Cooper. He never said DB Cooper. The problem is that some freaking moron, if we go to the DB Cooper thing, in some small time freaking newspaper journal, I forgot his name now. I was going to find his name and give you guys. I think his name was James. He somehow, the Oregon Journal. Yeah, James Long of the Oregon Journal. He somehow misreports the name in his report. And instead of saying Dan Cooper, he says DB Cooper. And it's perpetuated by the United Press International. And they say the same thing. And now just everyone thinks he said DB Cooper. And the guy literally said Dan Cooper. So, how do you fuck that up? Come on, James.
just a bumbling idiot.
Didn't even do his job right. And so they believe the alias, though. It's kind of clever, too. They think Dan Cooper, he thought of Dan Cooper because it was inspired by a French-Canadian comic book character, Dan Cooper, who was a test pilot for parachutes. He would jump out of planes and test parachutes. So that's what they think he did it. He based the name on. I guess to be a little funny, too, when he was doing it.
Be a silly goose, yeah.
To be a little silly goose there. So what do you think? What was another theory we got going on? The one theory is that he fucking was dead, which I completely think is debunked. I don't think he is dead. I think he lived, and I give you the reason why I think he lived, and I think he buried the money himself, and they lived. He lived it.
Well, there's another theory that he lived a quiet life, and he spent most of that time fucking with the FBI by sending letters to different newspapers.
Yeah.
I got a few of them here. He wrote one to the Reno Evening Gazette, and all it said was, "Attention, thanks for the hospitality, was in a rut. Signed, DB Cooper." I guess he liked that they fucked up the name too and decided to stick with it. Then he wrote another one to the Vancouver province saying, "The composite drawing on page 3 does not represent the truth. I'm leaving Vancouver. Thanks for the hospitality." So he's a gentleman. He thanks you for your time.
They said he was polite when he entered the plane.
The stewardesses all said they liked him. Like he was just a gentleman, even though he got on, was downing bourbon and sodas and chain smoking in the back of the just smoking his cheap cigarettes and he's just leaving cigarette butts everywhere. He's like, no, he couldn't have been nicer. But so he's a gentleman. Then he decides to fuck with Portland. Is it the Portland Oregonian? Stupid ass name. It says, "I'm alive and doing well in hometown PO, Portland, Oregon. The system that beats the system." So, well, he's doing all right. And then back to the Reno Evening Gazette, he says, "Plan ahead for retirement income." Signed, DB Cooper. So he's just... That's another theory, that he survived the jump, he's doing just fine, and he's fucking with the FBI.
So you think he even stayed in the same area? Just the balls on this guy?
I mean, I think he traveled around and then came back after everything blew over. Because I guess he went to Vancouver, I guess, but... And then, back to Portland.
I just want to throw this in there, and I did mention this before, and I said, I wonder if they made a movie, and apparently they did make a movie on this. The movie's called Not If You Understand. Just to let you know. So if you wanted to watch something based on this, you got Not If You Understand. It focuses on Tina Mucklow, the one stewardess, but the movie was based on this is the exact event.
I do want to check that out because they've mentioned him in other movies and TV shows. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Without a Paddle. It's
No.
fucking hilarious. It's just three guys that go into the woods to find D.B. Cooper's money, and hilarity ensues. But yeah, I think he survived and fucked with the FBI. That's what I would do.
It could have been.
But,
Maybe. Just what do you need the money for? Just to have it.
Just to have it. Why not?
Yeah, because there's one. So there's a letter that was sent to the Los Angeles Times. Did you mention this one with the claiming he had a year to live?
Oh, that was the next theory.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Send it out.
Theory 3, he was terminally ill, and he sent a manifesto, if you will, to was it the Los Angeles Times?
Yes, sir.
And he basically said, I knew I would get away with it. I knew I would get away with it because I only had a few months to live, or 14 months to live. I knew I wouldn't be caught because I left no prints, which basically he didn't because cigarettes were all burnt out. Wore a toupee and used face putty. So he's now saying that he completely Mrs. Doubtfired himself and became another person and then just stole a bunch of money.
See, so for me, for that theory, I'm still going to go with the second theory. Because for that theory, how could this guy be terminally ill but then survive this kind of a jump? You know what I mean? If you're terminally ill, wouldn't you be like frail?
Not always.
No, you don't.
I guess it depends what you have.
I guess. You have about a year to live. It's probably something like cancer. I guess like, yeah, you're good now, but you're gonna die, and we can't stop it. Maybe. I guess so. I don't know. I just feel like something this like risky. Unless he didn't care. Oh, if I die when I hit the ground, I'm gonna die anyway. So he did it anyway. But I don't know. I don't like that one.
That's what happened in Breaking Bad. Sorry, spoiler alert. He gets cancer, and they're like, "Oh, it's not good," and he starts selling meth. So, cancer makes you do crazy things.
I guess. Yeah. So maybe he did do it because of that.
He probably thought to himself, "I could sit in a hospital bed and wait it out until I'm gone, or steal a shit ton of money and jump out of airplane like a fucking rock star, smoking my cheap cigarettes and bourbon and soda." Bad motherfucker.
My theory will go with what my main suspect is and who I actually think is DB Cooper, which we'll get into later. My theory is that they needed money, might have had some debts or whatever. $200,000 would cover it, which was a lot of money, and be able to do other things with it. And he said, "Fuck it, I need the money, or my life's over anyway." And he just wanted and did this and got away with it. And he didn't want to do anything bad after this. He just, that's it. The one bad deed, and I want to get on my life. And he was always polite. It wasn't like he was some scumbag. You know what I mean? He didn't hurt anyone. He just wanted the money.
Gentleman.
He was a gentleman all the way through.
And I think we should pause for a minute and just acknowledge this portion. To those who are wondering, how did he get on an airplane with a bomb? This was 1971.
Yes.
On domestic flights, there was no security checks.
Nope.
They just kind of used the honor system.
You got a bomb? No? All right. See you later. See you. Yeah.
You got a gun? Is it loaded? All right, fuck it.
As long as it's not loaded.
Yeah.
Right? Keep the ammo separate. Yeah, this heist itself, this incident here, DB Cooper, is what led to mandatory luggage screening, even for domestic flights. Cockpit peephole, so you can see out the cockpit. And it also inspired 15 copycat hijackings the next year, which I guess we can talk about some, one or two, or coming up into the other suspects.
Yeah, that's theory 4. No, because it was 15 copycats just in the following year, and
Yes.
they asked for the money, but they also asked for helmets, jungle hiking boots, and machetes. So they got a little frisky with their demands. The majority of them were just arrested on the plane because they're stupid. 5 of them actually got what they wanted and got up the second time and did the jump, and were caught a few days later because I guess they weren't as smart, but they still managed to pull it off.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, they did.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say the theory is just the thrill seeker wanting to see what he can get, an adrenaline rush, and see if he can get away with it. Didn't even maybe need the money. Or could use the money, but obviously we could use 1.5 million each of us, right?
Oh yeah.
But just to try it out and see what happens. Fuck it. Let's go for it. Just do some random shit.
But let's get into some suspects, I think.
You want to get into some suspects?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do I mean, we got some guys here. I know you have the person you think that actually did it. I got someone that I think actually did it, so we'll save them towards the end. What about a big notable suspect here that I don't think was the one who did it? Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. All right, Vietnam War veteran. He was a Green Beret and a helicopter pilot. He hijacked a Boeing 727 similar in 72, one of the copycats. He asked for $500,000. He wanted to up the ante, right? He wanted to be bigger than D.B. Cooper.
Yeah.
And he parachuted over Utah. Well, guess what? He landed and was arrested. So that didn't go over too far for him. The reason he was suspicious is because, again, it was basically the same thing. But you also have to understand there's copycats, and he wanted to try it and see if he can get away with it. They don't think he was. The FBI kind of ruled him out because one, they said his ear shape was different. So I guess you can't screw your ear shape. I guess you can't mess with it with any type of masking or putty like the other guy said he used. An alibi placed him in Las Vegas on November 24th, 71. And the descriptions for what the guy looked like did not match. Kind of didn't align with that. And the DNA did not match from McCoy to the tie left behind. So later on when they did the DNA on that did not match. So what about this guy? How are you feeling about this guy, the copycat?
I also like to mention that they clearly didn't check his luggage because he was armed with a hand grenade and a pistol.
Oh, I didn't mention that. So they didn't check. So yeah, I guess it took a while to roll out this, you have to search the luggage thing, right?
You probably should at that point. I mean, one guy walked in with a bomb, the other one walked in with a fucking hand grenade. Come on.
Yeah, so I want to mention, so in 74, he's convicted. In 1974, he escaped prison, but died in a shootout. So he gone. The DNA for the tie, which I mentioned before, is because one of his children was being a snitch. And, Shantae and Rick McCoy, they claimed that Cooper, parachute thing, they're saying that McCoy, their father, or grandfather, had a parachute that matched the parachutes that were given to D.B. Cooper and the shed in North Carolina. So then the FBI went over there, reopened the case against him in 2023, only 2 years ago now, to get DNA off the parachute and match it to the tie, which is where the tie and the parachute did not match DNA, and that's why he was definitely, I guess, off the hook. So you would think, wouldn't the tie DNA be degraded though? But
over time, I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah. So do you think this guy has any shot of doing it? Or you think that the DNA actually is not matching from the tie, and it's he's put to bed?
I see. Even with the DNA, I don't think it's him because the original hijacking of DB Cooper, he did it more precise. He had everything in place. He's like, "Hey, I have
Yes.
a bomb." He has a note, which all the notes that he wrote to the flight crew, he took back before he jumped. I guess to not leave any evidence of handwriting behind. But see, like he was very meticulous. Like he knew what he was
Yeah.
doing. This guy has a fucking pistol and a hand grenade and big
Yeah.
ears, and he's just gonna fucking Dumbo his way out the back of this plane.
And he got caught. He didn't do it during the storm
No, he got caught like a dipshit.
in Utah, which is I thought Utah was more flat and kind of less mountain wilderness trees.
Very desert.
Yeah, so it's more desert like. So wouldn't they're like, oh, there he is out there, fucking, I see him floating in the air. And he's coming down slow as shit with his fucking, non-steerable parachute, and they just all surround the area, and he's like, oh, piss.
It's
As
like,
he's
oh,
coming
fuck.
down.
Is that Hank? Is that Dumbo flying overhead? No, it's just a dumbass with big ears. Oh, okay, arrest him.
So yeah, he didn't do very well. So that's why you don't think it was him. Not even the DNA putting him out with his, snitching freaking kids.
Little tattletales. He must have
Yeah.
beat them when they were younger.
So, no for him. What about Dwayne Weber?
I mean, what does he do?
So he was an Army veteran. He had a criminal past before, but the thing that he was trying, they kind of looked at him is that in 1995 on his deathbed, Weber said he was Dan Cooper. Why would he do this? I don't fucking know. His widow did report suspicious behavior, and he had a history of, doing stupid, shady shit, stealing, and stuff like that. FBI did note that Weber fit the physical description of the of Dan Cooper based on the stewardess identification of him and telling him what he looked like. They did take the tie again. They keep taking the DNA off this tie, and they're trying to say that it doesn't seem to match Weber's DNA. So no other link to the hijacking with him besides, I guess the widow then saying, oh, on his deathbed, he said he was Dan Cooper. And I just think he was just trying to be funny as he died, to be honest.
I think she was also looking for attention.
And she might have been looking for attention too. Yeah, he's Dan Cooper.
He did
So
it.
yeah, we don't like him at all for
No.
this. That was just a bullshit one.
Yeah, he's a bum.
Yeah, scratch him off, debunked, throw him out.
Debunked. Fuck
He's
you.
gone. He's gone. We have another guy. We again, like I said, I have my guy. I know all these guys didn't do it because I know who did it. That's what I'm gonna say. I know yours is different. I'm very confident in mine. So we have a Kenneth Christensen. He was a former paratrooper, and he was a Northwest Orient Airlines employee. He was a mechanic, just to let you know. And he was a flight attendant. He was suggested as a suspect by his brother. What is with all these, people with their family members just fucking screwing them over?
Everyone's a goddamn tattletale. Like, god damn it.
Yeah, just mind your own goddamn business. This is where I think this is the evidence they tried to say, his brother tried to say, is what clears him. So he was 45 at the time of the hijacking, mid-30s to mid-40s is what they're trying to say he was. Now, keep in mind, adrenaline and stuff like that does make you look different. He smoked heavily. He drank bourbon, which is what Cooper was like to drink, apparently, on the plane. But this is where his brother fucks up, and this is where I think it clears him. His brother said he bought a house with cash in 1972. The problem is, like we said before, the FBI took all those serial numbers down. Even in 72, you're going to buy a house, you're buying it in cash, they're going to look at that money. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, see ya. No, because they don't want to get fucked. That, to me, the brother being a scumbag saying that, clears this guy, because that money would have definitely been known to be the serial, unless somehow he washed it, which I think, again, bullshit, because they need to know where the money comes from. That's how you get a fucking mortgage. That clears him right there. I think his brother's a scumbag trying to frame the wrong guy.
Bag of shit. That and saying that he enjoys smoking and drinking bourbon doesn't mean a goddamn thing. He's a veteran. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Try to make the memories go away.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to say, because he was a Northwest Orient Airlines employee, a mechanic, he knew the planes. This guy did. Now, Florence said that the photos of Christensen kind of did look like Cooper based on her memory, but couldn't see him because of the glasses and shit. The problem is, Christensen was 5'8", not 6'1". I don't think you can fuck that up. Did he have platforms in his fucking legs? Big platform shoes? Are you on stilts? Right? I don't think this guy's it. His brother's being a piece of shit to get attention.
It's the complete.
You tell me something different.
I can't. His brother's an asshole. He's just grasping at straws. He drank bourbon and smoked, and he robbed the. No, he didn't.
He didn't do it, dude. No way. So we'll move. I guess we debunked him, right?
Oh yeah.
I debunk him.
100%.
Right. We have another. Again, getting fucked over by their family. We have a Lynn Doyle Cooper, LD Cooper. He was a Korean War veteran pilot, and of course, look at this. His niece, Marla Cooper, said it could have been him. It was him. Marla said she overheard him discussing hijacking a plane in 1971, and at the same time, he returned from turkey hunting, but he had an injury from falling in turkey hunting. Why is Marla doing this to him? Why is she snitching? And why is another family member snitching? Do they think they're getting some kind of reward money for this?
I mean, one, she's a piece of shit, but two, how do you fall turkey hunting?
That's what she said he said.
Just believing his story for a minute. How the fuck do you fall down?
He got injured from turkey hunting. He fell. He could have been down the mountain, rolled down a little bit.
Idiot.
Again, Florence is like, oh, this guy does look like Cooper too. I guess everyone looks like Cooper to Florence now. I guess she just has freaking nightmares about him. And Marla's story with the whole turkey hunting thing and him falling, everything could have been where he lost the money, they're trying to say, which is bullshit. Again, the DNA comes out from the tie. They try to match the tie, and the DNA doesn't match. They did the DNA test in 2011. So, I guess the DNA is not degraded. I mean, that's so old. The DNA is so old. I don't even... But without the DNA, I think it's bullshit. I think it's another family member trying to fuck someone over.
Well, her story sucks anyway, because it's too specific. Oh, I overheard him saying that in 1971, I'm going to rob this plane. I'm going to put on a suit with sunglasses and put a bomb in it. No, it's too specific. Shut up.
I got injured from turkey hunting.
Yeah. His story's stupid, too. Turkey hunting, that's it. He was out doing cocaine.
Debunked?
Yeah, debunked.
Debunks. Throw it in the garbage. What about the former Boeing employee, Sheridan Peterson? Know this guy?
Very little about him. Boeing employee.
Yeah, he was an employee and a smoke jumper with skydiving experience. He died in 2021, just recently, at 94, the ripe old age of 94. He worked on the Boeing 727 flight manuals, so he was very familiar with the plane and with the rear stairs. I guess that's how he got out. He opened the rear stairs and jumped out. Amateur investigator Eric Olis, this guy, is 98% certain Peterson is Cooper. So this amateur investigator, I guess he's like us, but we're better than him, obviously, because we know it's not this guy. But he says it is. He said his skills and his physical resemblance proves once that this guy is D.B. Cooper.
I'd like to point out there is no physical resemblance. He has the hairline of Nicolas Cage, which D.B. Cooper did not. Kind of looks like Nosferatu.
So, yeah, they had an alibi for the time. They could not disprove the alibi. There was no DNA to match. The tie did not match. And, yeah, just because he worked for Boeing and he knew the 727s and he had skydiving experience, kind of says that, well, he's not the one. But, it doesn't necessarily mean he is the one. But this guy, this amateur freaking investigator, Eric, he thinks he's better than us. He's saying 98%. Well, that 2% is where it is, and he's wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong. He looks nothing like him. I'm sorry. I don't see it. I don't see it at the slightest.
And we can't go with all these confessions, right? Everyone that says they confess to be Cooper. Because here's another guy. Confesses to be Cooper. William Gossett. This guy, a military veteran with parachute training, confessed he confessed to being Cooper and had a safety deposit box with $200,000. Now, there's where, again, I think it makes it so this is debunked. Remember, $5,800 was found. So it couldn't. He didn't have all $200,000. Safety deposit box with $200,000 is there's $5,800 extra in there. So that's what makes me think that he's bullshitting and lying. So, sorry. Just because you're a skydiver doesn't mean you're a fucking DB Cooper. They all want to be Cooper, but they're not good enough to be Cooper.
Yeah, you got mathematically debunked, idiot.
Idiot. Now, if he said what was actually left, he actually knew the number, then maybe I'd be like, oh, man, wow. Could have been. But he's not.
Couldn't they have just checked the money in the safety deposit box to match the serial numbers?
Yeah, they're saying that they couldn't even find this box. He never showed anyone a box. No one found this box. It's unverified. So.
Oh, so he's a bullshitter.
He's just a bullshitter. He just wants to be DB Cooper.
He's one of those asshole kids who's like, I have a girlfriend, but she goes to another school.
She goes to another school.
I have money, but it goes to a different bank.
It's in a different bank. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this NORJAK, they called it the FBI investigation NORJAK. They considered over 800 suspects by 1976, right? A lot of people. The case was closed.
A lot of interviews.
Technically, a lot of interviews. Yeah. The case was closed in 2016 because there's just no new leads until they reopened it in 2023 because of the freaking parachute by the grandkids of McCoy who said this is a parachute. He's a scumbag, and yeah. So we're still going nowhere with this fast until you get us on the case because we're the best. We solve everything, don't we?
Yeah.
But so I have my guy. If you're gonna go by guys, I know you have one. I know you have your guy. Do you have any other guys before we go into two things?
No, I have my guy, and I'm very confident with mine.
Yeah, I know you're pretty confident. So before we get into those two guys, what if this? Before we get into this, what if Cooper never jumped? What if the crew was all part of it? You ever think of this? We don't know where we say, oh, we don't know where he landed, but what happens if he never jumped and the crew was part of it? And when they landed, they scouted him out. Oh yeah, he's not in the plane.
I did think about that, but I have some qualms, if you will. So he let the other passengers go, right?
Yes.
Now, when they let them go, there was already an army of police at the airport. So they would have taken each and every one of those passengers and accounted for them.
Yes.
And the same thing goes with the crew members he let go. So they know exactly numbers-wise who got off the plane. Now, if...
Even with the face putty?
Even with the
Took
face
the
buddy.
face.
Yeah, because they he's still on the plane at that point. But
Yeah.
what if, I don't know, because once they landed in Reno, wouldn't they have like swarmed the plane and like tore it apart?
I guess, but unless they were afraid that the thing was going to get blown up.
What if he got the money and then took the face putty off and got off like every other passenger?
That's what I'm saying. Before they even took back off. Even before they took off, yeah. Now, they said that like I said before, the plane in the recording data showed the cabin pressure change when the rear stairs were open. But couldn't they just open the rear stairs and close them? Or did someone if you open those rear stairs, you get sucked out? I don't know. But I think he did jump. I think he got away with it because I think I have the guy who did it.
Well, why don't I say mine first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you say
You're
yours first
overly
because
confident.
yours. I just want you to say the guy who didn't do it, so I can get into the guy who did it, and we'll be done with it.
Well, I think personally it was Vince Peterson.
Okay, Vince Peterson.
It was a titanium research engineer who worked at a metal factory who supplied metal for Boeing, and he often took, business trips to Portland and Seattle, and he was in the area when that happened, and they found small metal fragments on the tie that was left behind that match metals from that factory. So, fuck you.
What was the motive?
You don't need a motive when you want money.
I guess that's just who you wanted money. You got nothing else going on. I don't even have you want a full on background of why my guy I think did it with all these, how much of a kind of a dick he was coming up to this point.
Well, I just gave you the DNA off the tie. It's rare titanium alloy that you can't just find.
It could have been by someone that just happened to be in the plane.
No.
No. Well, then why didn't they arrest the guy? Circumstantial.
Yeah, circumstantial. They looked into him for a long time.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything because it's not that guy, and it's this guy. And the only reason they didn't look at this guy is because of nonsense, and I think you need to relook at this guy. So we'll go with this guy. Right? This is the answer. Guys, this is who did it. This is Dan Cooper, D.B. Cooper. And that guy's name is Robert Wesley Rackstraw. Just look into that name, first of all. Just let it sit in. Feel it?
He sounds like every villain from every movie.
Exactly. You can tell that this is the guy. This guy is born in Columbus, Ohio, 1943. Working class family, didn't have a lot of money. So there we go. First off, we'll start with that. He dropped out of high school, which most serial killers do. Not that he's a serial killer, but he was acquitted. So we don't know if he was or not. So he was he had a military career. He started military service. He was in the Army, the National Guard, and the reserves. In 69, he joined the 1st Cavalry Division, one of the most decorated combat units in the Army. He served in Vietnam as a helicopter pilot and paratrooper. He was a paratrooper. He got 2 distinctive flying crosses for his aerial performance and was trained in explosives and high altitude, low opening parachuting. So, you jump out high, you wait to the very last second as far as you can get down, and you open that parachute. Now, when I'm done talking here, Josh is going to change his answer. I'm telling you right now.
I wouldn't hold my breath. Even though you basically said it's him for all these reasons, and the only thing you left out was that he was a really sharp dresser.
So, he was trained as a helicopter pilot, paratrooper expert. He was an explosives expert, which means he has explosives in his bag, the flying crosses. But the problem was he was then discharged in guess what year? 71. from the Army because he falsified his educational credentials because he dropped out of high school. That's so he 71. So now he's getting a little chappy, right? You just get thrown out of the thing. So then he has a criminal history after this. After leaving the Army, it's criminal activities going all over the place. We'll start with this. He needed money, $75,000 in check fraud. One of the things. Again, now, also, in 71, he was caught with explosives. Charged with that. He also then stole a small aircraft leading up to this. So, again, the guy's a scumbag. Going into farther after him doing this whole thing, in 1978, he faked his own death by staging a plane crash in the Monterey Bay, California area. He was arrested and served 2 years in prison for this. He was also acquitted. I don't know how he's acquitted. In the murder of his stepfather in 1978. So this guy seems like he's involved in a lot of crap, right? 71, he's discharged. He gets into a criminal freaking nonsense going on. $75,000 in check fraud before the plane. So now this guy's in money. They're in trouble. He needs money, right? Coop Rackshaw is also 6'1". He's also just under 200 pounds. Listed at 185. Remember, the description was 6'1", 170 to 175. This is the problem, and this is what they let him off for. And the only reason they let him off. The descriptions were said to be mid-30s to mid-40s. Rackshaw was 28 years old. They said he was too young, and they let him go. Not looking into anything else makes no sense to me. Not looking at, well, like I said before, adrenaline in that makes you look different. Anxiety makes you look different. He could look older if he's actually, oh fuck, I'm going to go through with this. So that's the whole reason the FBI lets him go is because he's too young. The sketches were apparently pretty close to resembling him. So the only problem is Florence, who said a 5'8" guy with giant ears and nothing resembled him. Florence said, I don't really think that's him. But again, like I said, adrenaline can change the way someone looks.
So could chain smoking. Continue.
So can chain smoking. Now, again, someone who was in the military and did all this stuff and then got kicked out and everything, he probably chain smokes and drinks too. Like I said before, expert in parachuting, expert in halo jumping, he was trained in explosives. He was caught with explosives. He's caught stealing planes. He's caught with check fraud going into this. Why is this guy not looked at besides, oh yeah, he's a little too young? Make that make sense to you. Because it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. And I know you're thinking it now. You're probably like, oh fuck man, this guy is it. This guy's it. Joe was right. Right?
No, I'll die on this hill. It was the metal on the tie.
That's the metal on the tie. I got a lot of evidence building up here. This guy died in 2019. All right? But I got a lot of evidence just building up. He was interviewed right after he was acquitted. In 1979 interview, asked a guy, I don't know why you would even ask him and why you would think he would just tell you, asked him if he was D.B. Cooper. And he smiled, laughed, and just said, I'm afraid of heights. See, I'm talking. He's fucking around, just like D.B. Cooper, just like the same kind of MO, just like the same kind of personality that would write fucking bullshit letters to different newspapers, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you think he would fuck with waitresses after? He's like, hey, miss, get me another bourbon and soda. I have a bomb. I mean, please.
Maybe. Why not? Fuck it.
Yeah.
And in 2018, the year before he died, he goes in an interview, I told everyone I was the hijacker. But then he said, the problem is I don't remember a lot of those days, and I don't know, and it was a stunt. So it was just his brainstem falling apart, or was he actually the hijacker? And then he's like, oh, fuck, I can still go to jail for this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're suffering from dementia, you would forget it, but if you're not, that's not something you forget.
Yeah.
Jumping out of a goddamn airplane you just hijacked. I mean,
But yes, so again, like I said, supporting this guy. I'm gonna beat it into you guys' heads. This is the guy. Military training, parachuting, halo jumping, explosives. He was a pilot and he knew what to do with a plane. He told the guys to leave the flaps down, told them to fly at 10,000 knots. Some scumbag that didn't know anything would not know what to do. Some people don't even know what flaps are on a plane. This guy knew what that stuff was. The photos from 1970 of him had a remarkable resemblance to the FBI's composite sketch. By a passenger, William Mitchell, who sat near Cooper on the plane before it landed. Done. Right there. Boom. Right? There was a 1971 letter that was sent back to Radstraw's military, written by Radstraw, and it contained, like, how would you put it? Like, encrypted messages in it that they would know by decryption through, like, when they're back then in Vietnam, you know, you send your decrypted messages so it wasn't intercepted by the enemy, and decrypting it based on their stuff was a confession to doing it. And then all the other crap, you know, he's stealing planes and fucking caught with explosives and all that stuff. It just, everything points to this guy. He needed money. I mean, he's in hot water anyway. I mean, how much in legal fees is he probably paying, right? He's caught with $75,000 in check fraud to begin with. He's acquitted. I guess he got a good lawyer for his stepfather because apparently there was a lot of evidence, but they claimed it was all circumstantial. He had neighbors and stuff saying that they didn't get along. There was always fights between them. So, again, that points to a lot of stuff. The counter arguments that they come up with, I'll just debunk off the bat. He was 28 and they're saying he was mid-30s to 40s. Smoking, adrenaline, anxiety, you know, all that crap makes you look different. We already know this. They're trying to say that Florence said she did not recognize Rackstraw in any photos given. But then the guy sitting next to him with the composite sketch at close resemblance, and Florence said some 5'8" guy with big ears was the guy, even though it was nowhere near, right? No fingerprints because, again, this chain smoking, there was no fingerprints used, so they couldn't link it to him, but it doesn't rule him out. And they're saying the coded message back to his military thing is inconclusive. But, I mean, that's how they would talk back then. You know, you have to, it's encrypted, you got to decode it. Why would he write a letter like that saying that he is the guy who did it? Makes no sense. They finally clear him in 79 saying that he's too young. And that's the only reason they just move on from him. So you tell me, who is this guy? You guys think it's Ratstraw, like I'm saying, or you think it's the 2-second, whatever that guy's name is with the metal on his tie? Vincent? I got a lot of evidence piled up here.
Okay.
Circumstantial as it may be, there's a lot of fingers pointing towards this guy that I just can't get around. There's just too much. You could say it's circumstantial all you want, but when there's a million things that all show the same thing, I cannot get by this guy. I think it was Robert.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I could see it. I could see it. He would also have to be an alcoholic. And the only reason I say that is because he was downing bourbon and sodas on the flight and just having a gay old time, and then still managed to handle business, which you can only do with a high tolerance.
And where do you get that high tolerance from? Military.
Yeah. Fair point.
So, again, yes, I think it's Rackshaw. I know you think it's whatever that guy. I don't even know. Frickin' Peterson. Who knows who he is, because he's not the guy.
You know what? I'll side with you.
You don't have to side with me. I do. I mean, yes, the rare alloy titanium shavings that were on the tie is hard to pass up. And this guy works with those same metals. Was it the same metals?
It was a titanium alloy.
Same rare metal, same format of metal,
Yes.
same mixture, composite. See, that's the only thing we'd have to look into. Is that stuff to do something with other, like explosives or anything else? Just with the shrapnel. I'm not sure. I'd have to dig into that.
Yeah.
And see if it was anything to do with Robert. Your boy, they're saying what, the DNA didn't match? Did they get DNA off him?
I don't think they did. He had an alibi. No, he didn't, because he was in the area. Let's see. He was on a business trip, what the fuck business trip are you doing when you work with titanium research? Yeah, supervisor at the Pittsburgh factory identified Peterson as a possible match based on the description. The factory supplied metal to Boeing, potentially giving Peterson familiarity with the Boeing 727 used in the hijacking. There's no concrete evidence that the findings are definitive and that the case remains unsolved. Potential yeah. There was nothing concrete on him aside from that, but I think that's a pretty substantial amount.
It's pretty damning evidence there. That one piece, though. I mean, yes, I understand. Yeah,
It's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Why would he have that on his tie, though? Like, what are you doing? Why would you wear a tie with shavings on it? You wear that tie to work?
Yeah, clean yourself, you fucking bum.
Get those shavings off. You don't want to have that on there when you're... That's like a damning piece of evidence, but it's okay because I think Rackshaw put that on there to frame someone else.
All right.
Well, that's what I'm going to go with.
I guess you're going to die on this hill, so...
I'm dying here. It was Robert. He's dead now. I can't... they never went after him for DNA because they cleared him and they never have any evidence to freaking go after him for the DNA with the tie or the hair strand or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, we have that. But there is one more person I don't think I mentioned. Oh. That would be the transgendered pilot. I don't think we mentioned her.
No, we didn't.
So, yeah, I forgot to mention her. So we have those two guys. We got Robert that did it. But then we also have Barbara Dayton. We never mentioned her. Born Robert Elmer Dayton in 1926. Dayton was a World War II veteran, U.S. merchant marine, and an avid recreational pilot. Skydiver, and underwent gender reassignment surgery in 1969. What a great way to get away with a crime, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to get away with one. She was the first woman to do this in Washington State, by the way. She was the first woman to have reassignment surgery. Apparently, it's kind of randomly, Dayton reportedly confessed to friends Ron and Pat in the late 70s that she was D.B. Cooper. She said she then disguised herself back as a man for the November 24th, 1971 hijacking, used shoe polish in her hair, wore a suit over a blouse, and carried a fake bomb. She then said she parachuted from the Boeing 727, navigated to a predetermined landing spot near Woodburn, Oregon, using lighted checkpoints, stashed $200,000 ransom in a Certine, a Kistern, I don't know what that is, a bucket, I don't know what it is, and returned home as a woman. Her aviation and skydiving skills, plus her familiarity with the Pacific Northwest, supported her ability to execute the heist, they were saying. And her family, including her daughter, Renee, and sister-in-law, believed she resembled the FBI's composite sketches. Her brother, Bill, recognized her in the sketches in 1971, and they were like, oh shit, it looks like Barbara Dayton over there. So they're saying that her motive would have been her frustration with the FAA and the rejection back in the time for post-transition people, where the motives, she then wanted revenge on the airline industry and hijacked the plane to get revenge and didn't really care about the money.
It's a solid reason.
So, yeah, so now the FBI did not even care about pursuing her as a subject because they just said it was a male. They're a white male, and you're transitioned into a female, and I guess they didn't want to deal with it. The money she hid was never found. Apparently, she's saying she didn't need the money. She hid the money and just left it, and that could be why $5,800 washed up here, but the rest went somewhere else, right? Maybe, perhaps. So they just never went. They didn't do anything with freaking DNA or anything because they didn't even pursue her at the time.
So the money's still out there then.
The money could still be out there if Barbara is the one who did it.
Barb. Yeah. I like that. Theory on her. It's a very interesting one. Especially the shoe polish and the hair and dressing up like a man and then doing it and then just changing your everything after you land.
Yeah, exactly. And they never wanted to go after her because everyone said a male, but if this person was born a male, and I mean, I don't know what kind of, in the 60s, what kind of hormone treatments or anything they do, couldn't you still find yourself to be masculine in front of these people?
Back then. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know how great the reassignment surgeries were back then. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously know nothing about it, but I can't imagine it being like it is today.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But like I was saying, they again, that's the reason they didn't even try to go after her, because they said, nope, it was a man that did it. We don't need to look at this person anymore, and ruled her out.
It's a white man with possibly floppy ears.
Yeah. So this person, besides the fact that I think it's Robert, this person's a huge, it's a really high possibility that this person could have done it. Just to do it because they're mad at the aviation and the FAA and all of the freaking anything to do with flights. And not needing the money, just left it, and that's why some of it washed up somewhere down, somewhere else. They were just probably scattered through the wind. And the only debunkers they got, really, is people just say it was just a bid for attention.
I don't know. I think we solved it with Vincent.
I think you said Robert wrong, but okay.
Oh, did I? Oh, did I put the wrong emphasis on different syllable? Yes.
Now, walking down this aisle, coming back to Cooper, you think this whole thing could have been avoided if that flight attendant, Florence, came back and said, you look parched. I got some, don't worry about the brandy, stop chain smoking. I got you a nice, tall, cold glass of Ovaltine. And give it to Cooper on the flight. Do you think they could have changed his mood and maybe made him rethink what he's about to do?
No, I think it would have made it worse. He would ask for more money and jump without the parachute.
Yeah, he would have been chock full of those vitamins and minerals.
He's fucking raging.
Maybe, yeah. It's absolute possibility, I guess. But I think it would have settled him down. I think it would have been like, oh, you know what? Life ain't that bad.
Well, think of all the Ovaltine you could buy with $200,000.
Yeah, especially the 1.5 million of this money. That's a lot of Ovaltine pallets.
Swim in it.
I'd have to build a warehouse to store it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, let us know who you think it was. I think it was Robert. Obviously, the person who actually did it is Robert. We have other opinions that are wrong.
This fucking guy.
And just to let you know, if you didn't see on X, or I don't know if it was posted on Instagram, but it was posted on X, you can now, if Spotify, if you only listen to Spotify for us or for certain podcasts, but you use another streaming service more often, we'll make it easier for you guys instead of having to switch over to Spotify. We are now got an RSS stream to YouTube. You can listen to us over there. We're getting that going. And we also got the RSS stream to Amazon Music. If you pay for Amazon Music Prime or whatever the hell it's called and listen to music through there. We are working on Apple Podcasts soon. We should be out. And besides those, the YouTube channel will get exclusive content coming soon in the form of probably videos that won't be on any of the Spotify or any of the other streaming services. So we're going to have YouTube as like a separate thing with extra content, which I know some people are probably excited to see. Right, Josh?
Yeah, I know you all want to see our shining faces.
The chef's hat on.
Yeah.
You don't think so? You don't think they're ready?
They're gonna. I don't know. I think they may get intimidated by how buff I am.
That's true. All that Ovaltine drink, this guy is absolutely ripped.
Fucking swole, dude.
But yeah, let us know who you think did it. If you're listening on here on Spotify, it really helps us a lot if you rate us 5 stars. If you like the episode, we're gonna do. We like to do mysteries. If this is the first time you're listening, we like to do mysteries. We like to do conspiracies. We like to do some other nonsense, unsolved murders. We talk about serial killers once in a while, and the big thing we talk about, because Josh is, like I said at the beginning of the episode, the cryptid killer. We will talk about cryptids, ones you know, ones you don't know, just a brief overview of them. And that being said, give us the 5 stars if you like us, 1 if you don't. If this is the first time you're listening and you don't follow us, please give us a follow, and just tell your friends. We like to ride along. A lot of people mention they like to listen to us during their commute, and we're just there for you and help you make your day a little better. If it's to commute to the work or if you're commuting for work back and forth, we just want to be there and help your day go by a little faster.
That's right, kids. We're here for you.
We're here for you guys. So yeah, please like us, follow us on the socials, Instagram and X. That's at Conspiracy Kitchen Podcast. Rate us and enjoy the rest of your day, week, month until the next time we see you guys, which should be the end of the week. And enjoy.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Later, guys.